Hello everyone, you're watching Can You See Fish? And welcome back to another ranking video here on the channel. Today we're going to be reviewing and ranking Series 3 of Thomas and Friends. So here we've got the tier list as usual, and we've got all the episodes at the bottom, so let's get straight into it. I love Series 3, third favourite series, and we started off with A Scarf for Percy, an okay episode. Most episodes of Thomas that are like the starters tend to be okay. There are a couple of exceptions, but like most of them I feel like are just okay episodes, the first episodes of each series. So yeah, we got A Scarf for Percy, nice way to start it off, pretty short railway series story, nice crash, just not much else to say. Percy's Promise is a great one. One of Percy's best episodes, if not his best. The visuals in this one are absolutely amazing and, look very convincing. Nice to see the kind of relationship between Percy and Harold return for this episode too. Yeah, just a good episode. Next up is Time for Trouble, adapted from the Railway series story Double Header. A good one, I would say, definitely. Not one that I saw until much later on in my childhood, but still one that I really do enjoy. Once again, we see that kind of rivalry between Toby and James. It's like seen in Dirty Objects, and it's a good episode. What's this one? This is like Domeless Engines? Or is that the Railway series story? Oh, I think it's called Gordon and the Famous Visitor. Gordon and the Famous Visitor. It's okay. Once again, adapted from the Railway series story, and the name changed for some reason, marking City of Truro's only appearance in the series to date. Good story. Donald Duck, first one that I'm putting in the favourites. Donald Duck is brilliant, and I think it does wonders for Donald's character, as well as Duck's. Obviously, this is, I believe, the first time we see the Little Western. If it's not the first time, it's one of the first times. Absolutely amazing episode. Thomas Gets Bumped. Bad. Just quite simple. They adapted two stories for this one, I believe, two magazine stories that might have been by Andrew Brenner, I can't remember, and neither of them particularly go with each other. There's no relation outside of the fact that they both featured Thomas as the main character. Not a good one for me. I don't enjoy it. It's got a crash, and it's one of the most underwhelming things in the entire series. Just not a good episode. Thomas Percy and the Dragon, one that I like. It's great, I'm going to say. It's probably there. One of the better original stories. There are some good original stories this series, but definitely one of the better ones. Lovely nighttime visuals. Once again, we're seeing more of that rivalry. That's always good. It's better when there's rivalry between engines, even if it's friendly in this episode. Always better than if they just get along and there's no problems at all, because you have to have it for the conflict. But yeah, really great episode. Diesel Does It Again, another great one. I'm going to put it there. Lots of great episodes this time round. We're on a streak here. Diesel's return. Some people don't like it. I personally don't know why. I get that it is kind of this change to Diesel's character that maybe a lot of people didn't want, but at the same time, I do think it's a really good episode. Lovely crashes in it. The harbour set is just wonderful in Series 3. I don't know if it's meant to be Brendam Docks. I think it is. Yeah, the dock set is absolutely brilliant. More Percy and Duck. Continuation from the Duck and Diesel trilogy in Series 2 with some of the stuff that Duck says. Just a really good episode. Up next is Henry's Forest, for many the best of the series. It is a good one, really good. It is better than Donald's Duck, even if it's pretty much, I would say, only by a margin. A really heartwarming episode. Henry's Forest is one that I've always liked. I definitely appreciate it more now I'm older. I think it's one of the episodes that you do appreciate more if you go back and rewatch it than maybe you did as a child. Definitely the case for me. One of Henry's best episodes. I know Audrey didn't like it, and I mean, some of the stuff that Audrey put into his writing is more unrealistic than Henry's Forest, in my opinion. This isn't like Rusty and the Boulder levels of unrealism, which is still a good episode. I just think he was, kind of annoyed that they were writing his stories for him, as he put it. But yeah, one that I really enjoy. Trouble with Mud. Now, if you want to talk about something that Audrey should have been upset about, it's this. This is perhaps the worst adaptation of any. I'm just running through them in my head. This is an awful adaptation. There's like a minute of good stuff in this, which is taken like directly from the Railway series, and obviously that's the scene where Gordon pushes James up the hill in the bad weather. But other than that, this is a quite a bad episode in my opinion. It's not down here. It's not one that I've ever really liked. The visuals are once again nice in it with the grey skies and the clouds and everything, but other than that, quite mediocre. Another thing that I could say for No Joke for James, it's not a bad adaptation. I think it's just quite a dull story. One thing about all of series 3 is that in every episode, I'm pretty sure the visuals are absolutely great. So even in like a bad episode down here, like Thomas gets bumped, there's still the visuals to look at, and that can kind of make up for the poor story. This one, the story isn't necessarily poor, but like I say, it is quite boring. Not much happens. It's one of the more shoved down your throat with the moral episodes of the show. I feel like definitely in the classic era anyway, where a lot of the time the morals were quite subtle. This one really does hammer it, which isn't always a bad thing, but it does feel quite out of place. Thomas Percy and the Mail Train. If it wasn't for the visuals, this one would probably be in okay, but I am going to put it here because, like I say, the visuals are absolutely great. They are better than the Flying Kipper, I'm going to say. Obviously, the team had what, about 6 years by this point to work on the visuals, and the nighttime scenes in this might be the best that we ever got. I'm just thinking of some of the other series. Series 3 and 4, I think, probably have the best nighttime visuals out of every series of the show. Trust Thomas, it's okay. Outside of the now iconic crash, of course, where Thomas runs onto the truck ferry and goes across Callan Pond or whatever it's meant to be. Outside of that, once again, quite dull, but it's kind of like No Joke for James, except it does have a really cool crash, which can kind of put it above that. Mavis up next, another okay one. It's probably about there. Definitely on the higher side of okay. Good job at introducing a new character. Mavis is probably at her best in series 3, I'd say, even though they did give her a lot of personality development in like series 5, 6 and 7. She's at her best in series 3, and yeah, this is just a great episode for introducing her. And then we got Toby's Tightrope. Really good, a really good episode. I'm tempted it might be better than Time for Trouble. Yeah, I'm going to say Toby's Tightrope is brilliant. Such a good episode. Such great visuals, with the kind of frosty countryside, but it's like not completely covered in snow. Just looks absolutely spectacular. And then we've got Edward, Trevor and the Really Useful Party. It's great. I'm probably going to put it about here. This is probably Trevor's best episode, I'm thinking about it. I mean, he's only got like 3, but yeah, this is probably his best episode. Edward's only real major role this series too. It's a great episode, a really nice one. We get to spend a decent amount of time away from the railway, which is something that I always do tend to enjoy, at least in the classic era. A lot of the time in this episode is spent kind of around the vicarage orchard at Wellsworth. So yeah, really nice one. Buzz Buzz, probably the most overrated episode this series, I'm going to say. It's okay. It's probably about here. I mean, it's good, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if it's like, a lot of people put this in like their top 10 best, and I'm really not sure if that really makes sense to me. I mean, there's definitely highlights. The scene with the bees is funny, and it is a funny episode, but other than that, it's nothing spectacular. All at Sea is something spectacular, and is not only my favourite episode of this series, so I'm just going to go ahead and drop that into first place. It's my favourite episode of the entire show. I've said this multiple times before. All at Sea is brilliant. Maybe Duck's, yeah, it's probably Duck's best episode. It's as good as the Duck and Diesel trilogy, easily for me. and I don't think we ever really saw Duck in a prominent role after this episode. Definitely not a main role up until like the Brenner era, where he was brought back in series 18. He definitely still had this major role in the show where he'd appear in a lot of episodes, but this was probably the last time he had a major role. I mean, you could count Fish in series 4. I'm not going to count that as a major role. Obviously, it is a major role, but it's not the main role. That's kind of a Henry story. And then we've got, what's this? This is Bill and no, One Good Turn. Right, there's a reason why I can't remember the name of this. This is the other bad episode this series for me. This is one that I just have never got on with. And it's a shame too, because once again the model work and it's great. You might be able to tell just from this picture here. It's got lovely sets in it, but it's just not good. It's just not a good story. It's not a strong story. You get some nice scenes with Edward and Boko, which is, like I say, nice. But it's, well, I've said in the Series 2 video, I don't really get on with Bill and Ben as characters. I find them annoying. This is a prime example of that, I feel like. Tender Engines up next, adapted from Tenders and Turntables. Not Tenders and Turntables, that's the wrong thing. Tenders for Henry. It's okay, I'm going to say. Yeah, it's great. It's great. I'm just going to put it there. I can't put it below Thomas Percy and the Mail Train or Post Train, so I'll put it there. It's a good episode. Once again, we get more development in Henry. This is kind of shows him more in that traditional arrogant style that we got in the first 2 series. But Henry episodes do tend to be good, and that's there. Escape, a masterpiece of an episode. That's going to go there. The visuals, similarly to The Flying Kipper, the visuals, the music, the story, the characters, the set work, everything about this is just this amazing episode, and it feels like a real adventure. It's not perfect. They could have included Oliver's flashback to him getting to Barrow or wherever the yards are meant to be in this episode. But yeah, a good one. Followed up by Oliver Owns Up, which I'm going to put there. It's once again good. Great crash. Great development for Oliver. We get to see him more as a character in this one. In Escape, it's more of a Douglas story, so we get a proper Oliver story this time round. Bulgy, I'm going to put it right next to it. Bulgy is such a good episode. It introduces such a good villain, which we did not see enough of at all. We should have seen more of him, and I know that we didn't see that much more of him because of him being kind of pushed to the side in the Railway series after this story never really being seen again. Excellent. Great characters. Brilliant. Heroes up next. Definitely one that I enjoy a fair bit. It's probably okay. I'm going to put it there. I'm aware that we are putting a lot in great, and I'm thinking maybe this isn't so good. So yeah, visuals once again really strong. But outside of like the scene of the the China Clay Works getting destroyed, there's not much to this one. Percy James and the Fruitful Day, quite lackluster. It's not bad, but it's once again outside of the crash. I feel like I've been saying this a lot in this video. Outside of the crash, there's really nothing much to it. Another one which has a really forced moral, I feel like. And you can tell that they were taking more creative liberties when writing in this series because of a lot of the morals feeling more forced, which I get that they had to do for reasons in relation to it being a children's show, but still. And then Thomas and Percy's Christmas Adventure, or Mountain Adventure if you're in the US. It's okay. I'm going to put it in okay. It's probably about there. I know that they butchered it in the US. They decided to make it a Thanksgiving special or whatever so they could show it on Shining Time Station. But yeah, it's a good episode if you're watching the UK version, I guess. Makes a lot more sense with obviously the Christmas tree and stuff, because I don't believe that the Thanksgiving tree is a thing, but maybe it is in some parts of America, I don't know. But yeah, Christmas Adventure is a nice way to end the series. The last proper Christmas special we got, I would say, for Thomas. Last one where it was the final episode of the series 2. But yeah, that is series 3. So going through the episodes worst to best, we have Thomas Gets Bumped, One Good Turn, Percy James and the Fruitful Day, The Trouble with Mud, No Joke for James, Trust Thomas, A Scarf for Percy, Buzz Buzz, Thomas and Percy's Christmas Adventure, Gordon and the Famous Visitor, Mavis, Heroes, Thomas Percy and the Post Train, Tender Engines, Edward Trevor and the Really Useful Party, Diesel Does It Again, Thomas Percy and the Dragon, Time for Trouble, Bulgy, Oliver Owns Up, Toby's Tightrope, Percy's Promise, Donald's Duck, Henry's Forest, Escape, and All at Sea. You've been watching Can You See Fish? I hope you've all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like it and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to see more videos like it alongside other projects I'm working on. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, goodbye.